Hey, hey, work this time. Woo! Okay. Hey, Miss Riley.
Hey.
I know you weren't here yesterday,
Sure
so
wasn't.
rolling into this, I'm glad that you're feeling better.
Me too.
Yep, because
It's a hot mess.
feeling like death is not good.
Mm-mm.
All right, so we're going to jump into lesson 7. So we did this content team last week.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And we already did a lot of the pre-work, so we're going to kind of jump through that. But before we get started, I just want to narrow the focus on the standard for today. So I know we had already done this in our module lesson internalization,
Yep.
but just thinking through our standard.
Mm-hmm.
So our objective was relating visual fractions and reciprocals.
Sure was.
So what do kids need to be able to know and do in order to master this standard?
So to be able to, they had to be able to identify what a reciprocal was, be able to, I had them explain what a reciprocal was, being able to divide, even though they had to be able to divide for that one, and draw the model.
Yes. And then we had talked about last week, emphasizing why it works, so connecting the model to the reciprocal and mind melding that, and we did a great job. You did a great job of practicing that. Not we. You did a great job of practicing that. I know that we already went over the ones in the mid-module that they're going to hit on, but just to refresh our memory, we had talked about number 1, 3, 7, and 8.
Yep.
So just thinking through the skills that they need before they get to the mid-module. Was there anything else that was flagged since the last time we talked?
No, just a couple of noticings I had from the Thursday and Friday lessons. Thursday was writing division stories, and I'm noticing that children are still kind of struggling with the how do I take a fraction and write it into a division word problem. So I'll be hitting that a little bit tomorrow.
Okay.
And then with the reciprocals, they could do the reciprocals pretty quick. Some kids just went too fast and didn't pay attention. And then the one that they really struggled with was the model.
Yes.
That really, I don't think anybody actually drew a model.
Except for our cardio, who drew a literal model.
And
Okay.
somewhere I made the meme. It's on
Oh,
the
yes, 100%. So let's just ground ourselves really quickly in the criteria for success that we both went over. So we said that they needed to correctly write the reciprocal, we needed to rewrite the division as multiplication, and then model using the diagram.
Yep.
Cool. So let's start by talking about some children who did well.
Well, I think we should first, like we said, nobody drew a model. So
Yes.
nobody got 100.
Yes,
But-
so nobody got 100. So I also had some questions because a lot of kids were number 3, they just X'd it out.
I had talked to them. I was like, you guys can try to draw the model because a lot of when I did our thing that we had talked about. I was just try to draw it, and then I was like, but just try it. And then a lot of them took tries. I don't have to.
Okay.
So I will
So
be more explicit in my phrasing next time.
since some of them chose to just not do number 3, I think the visual model is a big piece of this that they're missing. So I think that's one thing I want to tackle. Let's just focus on 1 and 2 right now to see did kids understand what the reciprocal was and did they understand how to multiply, and then we'll tackle the model
At the end.
at the end. So you had a large majority of children who, actually 50 of them, who did all of 1 and 2 perfectly, which is amazing.
Yeah, I was really proud of what they were able to do.
What do you think led them to this success?
I had pre-taught what reciprocals were because I didn't really think just telling them to flip it, there's that conceptual gap.
Yes.
And I didn't want kids to just know that, oh, it's flipped. So I wanted to make that connection as soon as we started doing this with the reciprocal. And then the division of fractions piece, I've been doing it for over a week, and it's pretty rote in their brains at this point.
Right. So let's look at some kids who maybe didn't.
Yep.
So what were the biggest gaps that you saw on question 1 and 2 specifically in the kids who, and we can flip through here.
Well, kids like Kenya, they forgot that it was always over 1 and then you flipped that. I gave them specific models, and I even put a model, there was a model on the board. So
Okay.
So students forgot to put it over 1 and then flip it, and then this just looks like careless mistake.
Yeah.
Same thing there. This one, there seems to be a huge issue with simplifying fractions, which I'm addressing in tomorrow's reteach with our choice board.
Excellent. Yep.
So there just seems to be like a lot of that issue.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was pretty much the major issue I saw for a lot of children. Just simplifying fractions and not remembering to put it over one and flip it.
Mhm.
Those were the two biggest issues
Okay.
that I saw for them.
Yep, I agree. And then the ones who didn't master it at all, just kind of curious, your thoughts on why.
Let's sort them really quick just to
Sure.
see what I noticed really quick. I looked at these up before I left for the weekend and I was like,
And you also weren't here yesterday, so
Yeah, so-
there's also that.
it just seems to be like a lot of them just did not get the flip piece.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if I had put these in like a problem,
Mm-hmm.
they would have been able to do it, but I think that they're just like isolating the skill they just couldn't do.
Mm-hmm.
I'm noticing a lot of these are from the same class. All of these.
That's actually good to know, because that's something I didn't know.
Um,
Okay. Did you do anything different in that class?
Nope. They actually seem to be primarily from two classes.
Okay. Afternoon?
Nope.
Morning? Interesting.
2 morning classes. Yeah, 2 morning classes. Pretty. One for my third block, 2 for my third block. Except this child was this student in particular had missed about 4 days because of a death in the family. Yeah.
So if we had to sum up in a few phrases what the biggest problems and gaps were that we saw, what were they?
Not remembering to flip.
So putting that in like math terms, not understanding the reciprocal.
Not understanding the reciprocal, and then a lot of them just really struggled with simplifying fractions.
Yes.
A lot of them really didn't understand.
Yes. And so thinking through the why, the conceptual piece of why you think that they didn't understand specifically the reciprocal, why conceptually do you think that they didn't understand what the reciprocal was?
I just think that they didn't understand. I think they didn't understand the model. Like when I went over this is the model, and like this is why we take the reciprocal. I think that like right over their heads.
Okay. What bearing do you think that had on number 3?
Then they just like couldn't even try it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a lot of the kids understood the model when I did it, and then they were just like, "But I don't feel confident enough to draw it," which is why none of them did it.
Right. And then looking forward, just to reconnect ourselves in the mid-module, we do know that there are some that they're going to have to draw.
Yep.
Some, they have the option at least to draw the model. So thinking through, I think it is important conceptually that they do understand that and they understand where the reciprocal is coming from.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, if we had to put it in a phrase, kids are learning would improve the most if we retaught what?
The model.
The model, yes. I agree with you. I think the simplification could be something that you're just going to need to continue to work on. I mean, it's something that they did last year. I honestly think that they're missing how to draw the division model. They're also missing how to draw the model for like what 15/16 looks like. It's not a whole.
Yeah, and I also think like when we get to divisibility in a
Mhm.
couple weeks, I feel like the simplification will be a lot easier.
Yes.
So I'm worried about it, but I'm not panicked
Mhm.
yet. I will be panicked in a couple of weeks.
Right.
But
So thinking through the model, I think tying the model to the reciprocal, there seems to be like a disconnect between the two in the kids' mind.
Mhm.
Like they don't understand the model, so they don't understand what the reciprocal is, so they don't understand how to write the reciprocal.
yeah, so what I'm thinking about doing is doing that during a small group tomorrow
Okay.
instead of reteaching it. Like, yes, everybody didn't do it, but I think that if I told the kids you have to do it, I think the 50 children probably could.
Mm-hmm.
I think pulling these students right here for small groups will, because I think if I retaught it again to the entire class, they wouldn't do that. Right?
So I agree that the 50 kids did know, and there's evidence that like Bradley knew that the reciprocal was
Yeah.
a multiplicative inverse, because that was another thing I was going to say, like not a lot of the kids checked to make sure that their reciprocal was a multiplicative inverse. I worry about making an assumption just because they got it right if they knew how to draw the model. So I'm not sure if you have enough knowledge in the room to leverage like saying that. So I'm wondering if you could do a quick model for them to show them, have them do one, and then use that to pull small groups to see like, did you get it, did you not?
So the only concern I have with that is that I really just think that like it didn't go very well. Like if like none of them did, then it didn't go very well the first time. So I'm not sure me standing up there doing it again is gonna, like, do you know what I'm saying? Like I feel like if I'm teaching to a big room, then it's not gonna be as impactful.
But you also don't have any data points that show that they know it.
No, that's fair. I was just gonna say I can pull all of them, like just rotate them in during the class. Like instead of teaching a whole group, just like pull all the children and reteach them that way.
So if we plan for,
like I could do the model that I would do up there, just back here.
do you think that you would be able to get through all of your children? I think that's my only concern.
No, and like I get that. I just like I'm concerned about redoing in front of everybody.
So it didn't take you very long to do the model last time when we practiced it. I'm thinking if we take this exact example and have you model it for them,
Like a guided discourse.
and then have them do one really quickly, that will give you the temperature check of actually who you need to pull back here, because you already have the choice board for everyone else. So if you take 3 minutes to do the model, have them do one, and these 50 children are good to go, then they just continue on with their life. But these other 50 that are like borderline, I don't know what that noise was, that way you can narrow your focus to like, you really have no clue, or you have a little bit of clue. The reason that I'm kind of pushing for not pulling a bunch of small groups is because I don't want it to be, I'm thinking if you don't get to everybody and then you don't know, I don't want it to flop later on the test. I should have phrased that in a phrase that anyway. So thinking through maybe planning a 3-minute model, just because you don't have enough knowledge to leverage whether you can do, whether they know it or don't, and then doing exactly what you said after that of like pulling the rest of the kids back here once you give them one to see if they know it.
So what if I gave them this exit ticket, or like pulled this part and draw a model to represent it? What, just give them the same exit ticket, had them do this as they're doing now, and then went over it as a guided discourse. Like this is how many of you drew the model, and then go over it, and then on the back put another question for them to do it.
I think that you definitely could leverage this part of Bradley's as like a, what do you notice that he did? Like he actually checked to see if it's the multiplicative inverse. But I do think that you might need to model this part for them. I think that they could do these parts, and then so have them do the first two of the do now, and then say, I noticed a lot of you didn't draw the model for part 3. I'm going to go over how you draw the model for part 3, because our cardio, the model is not a stick figure drawing of a person, that is a model. And once you do that, say, try the one on the back using a model, and then just go right into it. I think that you would have, it would be like 8 minutes of your class, and then you'd be good to go after that. So I do think that it's important for you to get another, because this was last week too, so giving them another temperature check with like, y'all retaining this part? And then what I didn't see was this model. I'm going to model this really quickly, try the one on the back, and that's when you can just go to my table, go to my table, go to my table, and you just jam out. Does that work? What do you think the impact of you actually remodeling this is going to be?
I think more of them will feel capable to do it, so, and they'll feel confident in their skills.
So let's plan out how you're going to actually model 5/8 divided by 2/3. You know what's our good friend, the picture. It's a good time. So do you have?
I don't have any like copies of it, but
That's okay. Here, we'll just use a child's.
you can use this one. Torn.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, so I would draw 5/8 divided by 2/3 becomes in the partive, and then so this is all. This is 2/3. So I would be dividing this in half. So this total. So 2/3 of something.
Perfect. Yes.
Is 5/8. So
Great
I'm
job.
trying to divide this by 2. So that becomes 5/8 times 1/2, which becomes 5/16.
Yes.
So that means this is 5/16. This is 5/16.
Yes. So I think that the push is this, having kids rewrite the division as this sentence. I think this is super important. If they can do this part, they know enough from your tape diagrams to actually draw what that looks like. So 2/3, you did like 45 days of tape diagrams,
Sure
I feel
did.
like.
Sure did.
So leverage that strength of, this is 2/3 of this. So this 2/3 of something is 5/8. My only push to you is like maybe shade this in.
Yep.
Whatever. And then say like, this 2/3 is equal to 5/8. So this whole thing is 5/8. So how much is each section? Oh, I need to multiply it by 1/2 to figure out how much is in each. I do think that they might have gotten confused when we did the model.
And then we went back and we're like, let's explain how this works.
Right. So
That's what
thinking through the reason why it is multiplied by 1/2 is because you have to break it into 2 pieces. Oh, this is the reciprocal. That's why this works, and I think that you can leverage that. And then what question are you going to ask as a check for understanding for how they got 5/16?
honestly, if there's probably change, I'd probably do like, trying to think of a number that would like, I don't know, I would probably do like 3/4 of something is,
Yeah.
6/7. So 3/4 of something is 6/7.
Yeah, we can easily pull one too. So thinking through the things that you want to emphasize in your model are what? Let's
This whole
jump in
thing,
now.
but particularly this.
Particularly what?
S needs to rewrite. Division is this. And then have them then.
I think, what do you think the impact is going to be if they start rewriting their division sentences as a statement 2/3 of blank is? What do you think we'll have on their picture, and what do you think they'll have on their model?
I think conceptually they'll understand all of this better. I think they'll feel more empowered to actually draw a model instead of just using the standard algorithm.
And you have like such a benefit right now that the majority of them can do the standard algorithm and just be like, if you got stuck, or if you got in a bind, or if you forgot what the reciprocal was, you could draw this picture, because this helps you understand that this is the reciprocal. That's why it works. So emphasizing that this is a reciprocal.
Yeah.
And tying it back to, no, what am I doing, Katie? No, wait, 3/2. Oh, because we did it this time. We messed that part up. 1/2 3 times. Yes. 3/2. Yes. Yes. See, don't do that. I just confused myself and the children.
Yeah, no.
Don't make that time.
That was the problem that
Yes.
a lot of the kids had.
So let's not make that time.
So because if I really wanted to figure out what the total model would be, I would take 5/8 times 1/2, and then I have 3 boxes, so I multiply it by 3.
Yes.
And then this becomes the reciprocal right there.
Yes.
And this right here is where I lost every child last time.
Okay.
With the model.
So how can we make sure that this time we don't do that?
I guess make more student-friendly pause breaks. So like adding more pause breaks. That way it's like, okay, so we're gonna rewrite this division sentence like this. You do what I just did. All right. So now let's draw our tape diagram. 2/3 of something. Draw me a tape diagram that models 2/3. All right, now we know that this whole 2/3 equals 5/8. How do I figure out what each box is? Divide by 2. All right, divide 5/8 by 2, and work them through that way.
Yes.
You just like giving them more student-friendly pause breaks. But other than that, like, there's not a lot.
Yes. I think that just reminding them this works because
Yeah.
I'm literally taking 5/8, multiplying by 1/2, multiplying by 3. That also is how we get our reciprocal. But if we're just emphasizing the visual model that no one made, that I agree with you that we need to clearly show them that. Cool. Do you want to jump up and do it one time on the board, just like for the children tomorrow?
Sure.
I also just want to see how long it's going to take, just to give you a time sense of like This is going to be 3 minutes. So, just so that we're both on the same page, you're going to give them the first 2 questions as their Gino. And you're modeling the third.
Alright guys, so now that we've gone over the first part that you know, let's take it to modeling. Last week when we did the exit ticket, we didn't draw the model. It's okay. But I want to make sure we all understand the actual process. So, to start off with, I want you guys to actually take the time to rewrite your division sentence, 5/8 divided by 2/3, as 2/3 of something is 5/8. So on everyone's paper, I want to see you writing this sentence right here. Is 5/8. Give me a thumbs up when you're done. Cool. Now, I want to draw a tape diagram that models 2/3. Let's see who can beat me. Go.
I like the building. And also emphasizing that you don't know what the whole is, but you know 2/3 of it. So.
Well, yeah, I'm just having to draw the tape diagram. Yep. So, all right. So we have 2/3. Where did I get the 2/3 from? Right here. So I'm shading in 2 of my sections, and I know that 2/3 of this total that I don't know what the total is. 2/3 of it is 5/8. So this is equal to 5/8. That's the value of 2 pieces. How do I figure out the value of 1 piece is?
Cut it in half.
Cut it in half. All right, so everybody, on your papers, I want you to divide 5/8 divided by 2. You're going to have 1 minute. Go.
You might want to, so since they don't have any steps from loosely division yet, let's just pretend that they don't know division. So like, I need to take half of 5/8, they do know this from last year.
Okay.
Because that will make it a multiplication really quickly. Since they're learning this, use what they know this from last year.
Okay.
So take half of 5/8 of means multiply.
Okay, so take half of 5/8 of means multiply, so everybody just go ahead and multiply 1/2 times 5/8. Go.
Ooh, look at this, yes! There yes to this.
Alright, nice job. Alrighty, nice job, high five. Alright, so who can tell me what half of 5/8 is?
5/16.
5/16, very good. So what does that 5/16 represent?
All the boxes are 5/16.
Very good. 5/16.
Unit 1.
5/16. So if we know these 2 boxes are 5/16, this box is 5/16. How do I figure out what the total is? How do I figure out the value of all the boxes?
Add them up.
Cool, so 5/16 plus 5/16 plus 5/16 is 15/16.
Okay. Make sure you put it in a blank. How are you going to tie it to number 2 that they already did?
Does this match your answer? Does this match your answer from number 2? Yes. Oh wow, look at that, guys. What a coinky dink. Look at that. What a shocker.
It's like you planned it.
I know, it's weird. It's weird. So I think that will be okay for them.
So that literally took you 2 minutes.
Okay. And then we can give them one more problem for them to drop it back.
That way that they have to practice with going from the division to the visual model. And then the only other like minor thing to just touch on is reciprocal. It's just how are you going to, and I think that you could leverage like going over number 1 really quickly. They only missed the reciprocal of 5.
Yeah, so I think I'll just point that out to them. Okay guys, so what is 5 always over? 1, so what's the reciprocal of 5 over 1? 1/5, okay. So we need to remember that for next time. And I can even point to this, if I rewrote, what's the connection here? I could ask, what's another way to write this? 5/8 divided by 2. And that's an easy way to leverage that.
Yep, I think that also if you did that would be super powerful too, just like at the end. Because this helps them with this that you already have to do to make that connection. That would be super powerful.
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay, so threw in that just to make sure that they have the visual model so they can leverage it for their test. So they just decided not to do it at all. Whatever. So after that,
choice boards and they'll do that anyway.
Perfect. And then if kids are still like in La La Land, you have that real time like, did you get it because you didn't understand, or did you not get it because you didn't understand, or did you not get it because you were just drawing stick figure models instead? Cool.
Yes.
That was actually really great. I think I can definitely tell that you were more comfortable with this one this time than the first time. So, what do you think made that change?
Practice.
Really good about that. Okay. So,
We'll pick another problem and I'll make these copies and then.
right, perfect. I mean, like I said, that only took you 2 minutes, so with that, the 2 minutes we're gonna do now, and then 2 minutes to give them, we give like a 6-minute quick reteach. Perfect.
And then do you, so I'll give them an exit ticket to model to double check that they got it?
Yep. Yeah, we'll do that really quickly, just to make sure that they have it. So, this is for tomorrow. Roger. I don't have the lesson with me anymore, the full lesson. Lesson 7. Let's just pick a problem right now. Lesson 7. You're getting so comfortable with just, getting up there and doing your thing.
It's not bad. It's not bad.
I like the choice board though that they're doing tomorrow to review all of them.
Yeah, and then it's like on them, and then they can practice. And I made a bit.ly so they don't even have to go searching through the videos. I can just literally click, I'm gonna do this, click, takes them right to the video. So hopefully that makes sense.
Here. What if we use 6 and 7? So you could use 6 as the one on the back, and then we can use 7 as the exit ticket, just to
Sure.
like at the very end of class, just to make sure that the kids that you pulled for the small group are like
Got
good
it.
to go.
Sure, we can do that.
Cool. I can put 7 in Illuminate so that the kids can just enter their answers, or we can just do it on paper. And
Let's just do it on paper, because the Illuminate doesn't work for every child.
No!
Still not working. I have a lot of kids who are having computer issues
No!
still. So.
Okay. Perfect.
Oh, tornado warning
For Jacksonville?
to Duval County. I'm telling you, it was windy.
You hear that?
Oh,
We're working through the tornado warning.
yeah, so y'all could
Working
like
through.
send us
We
some
haven't,
vibes.
we haven't even done the inclement weather drill yet. Slightly concerning. Can you hit